I'm curious what those 3 months looked like or felt like after the accident, and when you started to just feel, oh, this is just, this is just how it is now, and kind of came back to a a normal baseline, or close to normal baseline. And it seems like now you've gone beyond that baseline, which is just incredible. But I'm curious what that looked like.
Yeah, I mean, the first 3 months I was literally laid in a bed looking at polystyrene ceiling tiles with metal bolts in my head and a metal halo around my head and not moving. So those 3 months were, there wasn't any opportunity for any kind of hedonistic adaptation or anything else like that. It was literally, you're grounded, you're in bed, you're staring at a ceiling, it was wall staring, and your body's healing. So actually you lack, I think when your body needs the energy to heal, you don't have the cognitive ability to really think about much, to even really go there with processing much. So my memory of those 3 months, I don't recall anxious thinking. I don't recall a lot other than just being in this absolutely empty healing space of staring at a ceiling. I didn't read any books. I tried to listen to a few audiobooks. I couldn't. I mean, I couldn't sit upright to read a book. The whole world was upside down. So my way of seeing the world was looking up at ceiling tiles where there was a mirror angled above my head. So you could see people and things moving around you, but it was all upside down. So very, I don't know what to say about that time. It was very unusual. Everything is topsy-turvy, literally. Your view of the world is upside down. But it was an unusual time because I was in a hospital ward where I think I'm glad I was in hospital then than now, because now people have private rooms and it's all very clinical. When I was in hospital, it was an open mixed ward and there was all sorts of shenanigans going on all the time. So, there was a lot to laugh at. There was a lot to feel grateful for. I had people around me who had much less dramatic accidents but couldn't breathe anymore. They depended on a ventilator and couldn't breathe anymore. So you're seeing like all extremes of challenge and all extremes of humanity and all extremes of care, like from the staff working there to the patients to you're really going through a huge trauma with other people on all kinds of different levels. And so I remember feeling really grateful for the fact that I still had what I had, as well as really traumatized for all that I'd lost, as well as laughing a lot at the craziness that was going on around. And yeah, just a very deep, intense experience that when I look back at, weirdly, my memory of it is that I had an absolutely fantastic time, which sounds bizarre because it clearly it was a really difficult time, but it was also a really amazing time. So yeah, I don't think it really speaks to your question or the process you're talking about there, but it's I think it's like being in a holding space. After that though was different. There was a really profound moment when I started getting out of bed and asked for my bed to be wheeled outside the hospital. And this was unusual. Clearly no one really asks for that, but my bed got wheeled out of the ward down a ramp, and I remember just lying there all afternoon staring at the clouds in the sky and trees. And I just said, can I stay out here for the night? Like, I wanted to sleep to the stars outside. And in the end, I was out till about 1 a.m. But that contact with nature was absolutely profound for me. It's the first time I'd seen a leaf for 3 months and sky, and the colors were so intense. And I remember just, yeah, it was just an incredible experience that actually, after that afternoon, I kind of felt alive again, and it gave me some kind of energy to when I started getting up, really go back and chase after things. And then began a bit of a treadmill of searching and seeking. When I finally left the hospital, I tried every activity you could imagine, from gliding to flying to canoeing to you name it. It was like just seeking something. Yeah.
Is there a period post-accident that comes to mind as the most challenging?
Yeah, so I would say, and this is interesting because I know there's a piece of research done about someone winning the lottery and somebody who becomes paralyzed, and that the kind of baseline happiness returned to about the same level as pre-accident or lottery winning after 1 year, which I was surprised to hear. Because actually, for me, I'd say the most difficult time was about a year afterwards, because in the beginning it's so shocking for everybody. People rally around. You've got lots of people supporting you, and it's all new. You're discovering everything new. And then after that first year, I moved back to Scotland, and I was living in an apartment on my own. I went back to my studies, and it's like normality is set in, and the reality sets in. And that was the most difficult time. Then you realize this isn't going away. The novelty's worn off. The reality is starting to arrive. And actually, people think you're okay now because it's been a year. And actually, suddenly, you're feeling maybe not so okay.
People actually talk about a similar effect with grief also, where there's this sort of perverse kind of novelty or shock at the beginning that blunts a little bit of the challenge. And then also you have the social connection element where people are in the outside world and in the community kind of acknowledging the magnitude of what's happened, and then normality sets in, as you said, and things can be more challenging. So that's really interesting to hear. Karen, you've spoken to all sorts of big companies and at all sorts of big events, companies like Adidas and Braun and all sorts of different companies. There's some great photos of you online speaking on amazing stages. What is it that you attempt to get across to the audience when you are speaking? What is your goal usually?
It usually depends what's relevant and what an organization wants or is looking for. The things that I typically get asked to speak about are mindset, overcoming challenge, adapting to change, the typical kind of topics which are so pertinent in the business world. And I don't think I've got anything radically new to share, but I think there's a lot of power in personal story. And I think my stories, particularly from adventure and wilderness and high performance sport, there's a lot of things in there which are very pertinent to everyday life that we can transfer across. So I tend to share stories from these experiences and environments. 14 years in high performance sport has been quite a journey, and lots of learning within that to share. So yeah, I never have a script. I make it up every time, that's in a way that's different. And to be honest, I have to do that, because if I was just doing the same thing every day, I'd be absolutely bored. And if I was bored, I'm sure anyone listening would be. So yeah, I think since COVID, I did have this realization that the mindset that I need when I go on an adventure or exploring very much felt like the mindset that is helpful in a pandemic. It's just like always expecting the unexpected, looking after each other well, caring for yourself well, caring for each other well, being very attentive to thought control and managing your thoughts, changing your thoughts, reframing situations, all these kinds of things. And that's become a bit of a theme over the last year or so, is just this kind of adventure mindset approach.
If what you've heard on Flow Research Collective Radio has been helpful, please consider doing us a solid and leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening to this. Reviews help us connect to a wider audience so we can get these peak performance principles out to more people.